Hi guys, Ben here and welcome to Motivation to Invest. Charlie Munger is Warren Buffett's right-hand man and one of the greatest investors of all time in his own right. He started his career as a lawyer before discovering his passion for value investing and amassing a fortune of over $1.6 billion. Warren Buffett considers Charlie Munger to be one of his greatest friends, and he has learned a lot from him. At an incredible 96 years old, Charlie Munger is still doing what he loves. He's like the YODA of value investing. Extremely wise, thoughtful, and intelligent. Now in February 2020, Charlie Munger took time out of his very busy schedule to give a talk at the Daily Journal annual shareholders meeting. Now to be honest, the original recording was extremely long as it went on for over 2 hours and many people stated it was difficult to understand. So in this video I've done the hard work for you. I've gone through the 2 hours of footage and deciphered Charlie Munger's 15 top rules for investment success. So if you appreciate this hard work, please smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. This also allows us to continue creating great content like this for you guys. Now bear in mind, Charlie Munger is 96 years old, so he can be quite difficult to follow. But if you concentrate and listen carefully, you will learn so much from his valuable wisdom. Now let's get into the video.
Mr. Munger, Bill Brewster here. Thanks for doing this. In the past, you've referred to value investors as a group of cod fishermen and suggested that they maybe fish in a different pond. Conversely, you've also discussed how over a long enough time frame, an investor's realized return would mirror the business's return. So given that many of the highest quality businesses are in the U.S., wouldn't some of our time be best focused analyzing the quality of the businesses here in the U.S.? And I understand that the odds offered on the bet matters a lot, so I'd be curious to hear in your mind how you weigh the quality of the horse versus the odds offered on the horse. Thank you.
Well, both are important, but basically all investment is value investment in the sense that you're always trying to get better prospects than you're paying for. And so, but you can't look everywhere at once, just any more than you could run a marathon in 12 different states at once. And so you have to have some system of picking some place to look, which is your hunting ground. But you're looking for value in every case. And what is interesting to me is you talk about the U.S. I don't agree with you. I think the strongest companies are not in America. I think the Chinese companies are stronger than ours, and they're growing faster. And I have investments in them, and you don't. And I'm right, and you're wrong. Well, you can laugh, but I just spoke a simple truth. Baby was here. I saw his face in the audience. He's the most successful investor in the whole damn room. Where does he invest? China. And boy, was he smart to do that. And is he good at it? Oh, that it really helps if you know which hunting ground to look in. In fact, we all do better hunting when we're hunting where the hunting is easy. I have a friend who's a fisherman. He says, I have a simple rule for success in fishing. Fish where the fish are. That's you want to fish where the bargains are. That's simple. If the fishing is really lousy where you are, you just probably look for another place to fish. Customers, my model, my ambition is to be as close to Costco as I can possibly be. I've never been associated with a company that works harder than Costco to make sure the customers are served well. I mean, I just love success that occurs that way. And I hate success where you're deliberately trying to cheat people or sell them something that's not good for them, like gambling service in Las Vegas. By the way, I'm not trying to irritate our customers in Las Vegas. I'm doing it by accident. Anyway, but I do think there's something to be said. You have the option for selling stuff that's good for people instead of stuff that tricks them. And at any rate, that's our approach. I would choose that approach even if I made less money. I, in fact, think you make more. It reminds me of Warren Buffett's favorite saying. He says, you should always take the high road as it's less crowded. And that's the system.
I had a question regarding the Stoics. It's something I've read after you've started. You actually mentioned it. There's a great, anybody who's read your life, you're a testament to the idea that to not be a victim, but to be a survivor. And it's an attitude that has helped me in my short life so far. Could you perhaps expand on that idea, how it's helped you, and how that is perhaps one of the greatest ways to live your life out, regardless of what happens to you?
Well, of course, feeling like it's rather interesting to make change. Some people are victimized by other people. And if it weren't for the indignation that causes, we wouldn't have reforms that we need. But that truth is mixed with another. It's very counterproductive for an individual to feel like a victim, even if he is. Best attitude is just to be cheerful about everything and keep plugging along. And therefore, I don't like politicians that get ahead by trying to make everybody else feel like a victim. And they make my flesh crawl. And I just don't believe in it. Of course, who wants to be a victim instead of a survivor? Of course we want. But feeling like a victim, you can recognize your position is bad and try and improve it. That's okay. But to have a deep feeling of victimhood and it's all somebody else's fault is a very counterproductive way to think. People don't even like being around it. It's really stupid. And yet our politicians build on it and try and make their careers work by doing something that's very bad for all the people they're talking to. I stumbled into a few mental tricks early in life, and I just use them over and over again. I mean, I take the high road because it's less crowded. Of course, that's a smart thing to do. And then I feel that I was raised by people who thought it was a moral duty to be as rational as you could possibly make yourself. And that notion, which was just inherited basically from my genes and my surroundings, has served me enormously well. It's like Kipling said, if you can keep your head when all around you are losing theirs, it's a big advantage. And just think of all the dumb things that are done by our politicians and our business leaders, and the wretched excess you see in the system,
Hello, Mr. Munger. My name's Chris Antonio. I'm from Marin County. And my question is, you talk frequently about having the moral imperative to be rational, and yet as humans we're constantly carrying this evolutionary baggage which gets in the way of us thinking rationally. Are there any tools or behaviors you embrace to facilitate your rational thinking?
The answer is, of course. I hardly do anything else. And one of my favorite tricks is the inversion process. And I'll give you an example. When I was a meteorologist in World War II, they told me how to draw weather maps and predict the weather. But what I was actually doing is clearing pilots to take flights. And I just reversed the problem. I inverted. I said, suppose I wanted to kill a lot of pilots. What would be the easy way to do it? And I soon concluded that the only easy way to do it would be to get the planes into icing the planes couldn't handle, or to get the pilot into a place where he'd run out of fuel before he could safely land. So I made up my mind I was going to stay miles away from killing pilots by either icing or getting them into sucked-in conditions when they couldn't land. I think that helped me be a better meteorologist in World War II. I just reversed the problem. And if somebody hired me to fix India, I would immediately say, what could I do if I really wanted to hurt India? And I'd figure out all the things that could most easily hurt India, and then I'd figure out how to avoid them. Now, you'd say it's the same thing, it's just in reverse. But it works better frequently to invert the problem. If you're a meteorologist, it really helps if you really know how to avoid something, which is the only thing that's going to kill your pilots. And if you can help India best if you understand what will really hurt India the easiest and worst. Algebra works the same way. Every great algebraist inverts all the time because the problems are solved easier. Human beings should do the same thing in the ordinary walks of life. Just constantly avert. You don't think of what you want, you think what you want to avoid. Or when you're thinking what you want to avoid, you also think about what you want. And you just go back and forth all the time. Peter Kaufman, who's here today, he likes the idea that you want to know how the world looks from the top looking down, and you want to know what it looks like from the bottom looking up. And if you don't have both points of view, your reality recognition is lousy. Well, Peter's right. And inversion is the same thing. Just such a simple trick to think, how does this look from the people above me? How does it look from the people beneath me? How can I hurt these people I'm trying to help? All these things help you think it through. And they're such simple tricks. They're like the lever. They really help. And yet, our great educational systems give advanced degrees. They don't teach people these simple tricks.
It's been a while since you've had the psychology of human misjudgment as a talk, and I was wondering if there are any additions you would have that you've seen more recently. And the second part is, you've mentioned how important being rational is throughout your life. Can you walk us through, aside from the tips and tricks that you have, what steps we can take to become more rational?
Well, it's a long process. I don't think anybody just flashes into it. It's not like somebody who tells you, like, all you got to do is run down to the front of the revival meeting and shout out and you get a wonderful hereafter. Yeah. Rationality is something you get slowly and it has a variable result. But it's better than not. Awful it is when people get into these furies of resentment and anger and sure they're right about everything. It's hard to know exactly how human civilization ought to be organized. And, it's obvious that deferred gratifiers do better over the long pull than these impulsive children that have to spend money on Rolex watches and other folly. And not that I'm picking Rolexes any worse than Patek Philippe or something. But I think everybody who's adult should save and not be stupid at spending money and defer gratification to get more later and all those good things that we were taught, by Benjamin Franklin, thrift and so forth. And the odd thing about it is that people are kind of born deferred gratifiers or not. They've done recent psychological work on that subject. And lots of luck if you're an impulsive person that has to be gratified immediately. You're probably not going to have a very good life, and we can't fix you. But if you have a slight tendency to deferred gratification, and you can feed that tendency, you're on the way to prosperity and happiness. It's that demand for immediate gratification it's the way to ruin. It may also give you syphilis.
I'm 18 right now. I'm in college, and sometimes I lose interest in what I do. and you're 96 and you're so passionate about what you do. So what keeps you going? Like, how do you still have the motivation? Thank you.
Well, maybe I've been lucky. I like what I do. I have wonderful partners and friends. I have a nice family. My problems are interesting to me. I have been a very fortunate man, and I don't know how to make everybody else lucky. Well, I could have had a different hand and been some miserable alcoholic throwing up in the gutter. I don't think I deserve any great credit for having stumbled into a reasonable amount of publicity. I do think that trying to be rational helped. That's the only thing you've got if you're a fellow nerd. There's no point in you're not going to be a sex object. You may have to rely on your rationality.
Charlie, thank you very much for having us here today and sharing your wisdom and your beliefs. I was hoping that you might share with us some examples of how you've used disconfirming evidence to change some of your important, determinedly held beliefs.
Well, of course, being able to recognize when you're wrong is a godsend. If you take a good bit of the Munger fortune came from liquidating things we originally purchased because we were wrong. Of course you have to learn to change your mind when you're wrong. And I actually work at trying to discard beliefs. And most people just try and cherish whatever idiotic notion they already have because they think if it's their notion, it must be good. And I think, of course, you want to be re-examining what you previously thought, particularly when disconfirming evidence comes through. And there's hardly anything more important than being rational and objective. Just think of all the dumb things you can do in life. Think of the brilliant people who are just utterly brilliant, who do some of the dumbest things. You won't have any trouble thinking of examples. In fact, most of us can think of our own action in the last year or two, and we can all pull up an example or two. It's hard to be rational.
First of all, thank you so much, Charlie, for your time. I'm a big fan. My name is Ray Ma, and I'm a nerd from San Francisco. My nerd friend Arif and I have a question for you related to technology. There's this common sentiment that technology is both accelerating the pace of change and its impact is broadening across most industries, usurping traditional moats. So given your long career, I'm wondering, do you think the traditionally moaty industries are being undermined at a pace that's different from what's been happening in the past?
Yeah, I think the moats have been breached time after time after time. Imagine the Eastman Chemical Company going broke. Imagine all these great department stores being on the edge of extinction. Imagine all those monopoly newspapers going down. You know, look at the strength of the American auto industry now compared to what it was, say, in 1950. Well, I think the moats are disappearing rapidly. I mean, the old classical moats. I think that's probably a natural part of modern economic system, as that old moats stop working.
And if you enjoyed this video, go ahead, smash that like button, and definitely subscribe. See you next time.
Coming in, flex, I just wanna win, LABB who we running with, coming in, flex, I just wanna win,